Good morning and welcome to Farm Factor. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom. On today's show, Kyle Bauer visits with Ron Carleton, counselor to the EPA Administrator for Agricultural Policy. Then enjoy this week's Kansas Soybean update. Next, Kyle catches up with Cinch Munson with the Propane Education and Research Council. Then learn about Chappell Feedlot's Grow Safe system, and we'll end with Plain Talk featuring Kyle and Duane Toews. Stay with us.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Grain Sorghum. Growers working together. Find out more at kansasgrainsorghum.org.
Welcome to Farm Factor. Up first today, Kyle and Ron Carleton discuss the importance of sharing agricultural stakeholders' concerns and challenges with the EPA Administrator.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer with Ron Carleton with EPA. Counselor, I'm going to have you say your title.
I am counselor to the EPA Administrator for Agricultural Policy.
And what does that mean?
It means that I provide advice to the administrator on issues related to agriculture, give her the benefit of my experience and what I'm hearing. And part of the way I do that is I spend a lot of time around the country with farmers and ranchers and other agricultural stakeholders to hear firsthand. What are the issues of interest to them? What are their concerns? What are their challenges? And I can relay that to the administrator as she's making decisions on issues that are before the agency, and at least try to take into account some of the concerns that agriculture has.
Truly, clean air and clean water is an evolution. In other words, where we were 30 years ago is X, where we are now is Y, where we'll be 30 years from now is Z, and part of what your job would be is to manage that evolution.
No, absolutely, and the mission of the agency is to protect public health and the environment, and Congress has given the agency statutory tools to do that. The Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act, the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act, which is the pesticide program, Resource Recovery and Conservation Act, and there are others. And the agency takes that and fulfills its mission while pursuant to its statutory authority. So, we're all trying to do the same thing. Those of us in EPA and those of us in agriculture. We all want clean water, and we all want clean air, but we also all want a productive and prosperous agricultural sector as well. So it's always a question of how do we fulfill the agency's mission and work with agriculture to accomplish that in a way that benefits all of us.
We've made progress. Is the progress going to come slower in the future or faster because of technology?
Well, you never know. The way things have worked, technology seems to have really sped things up. And it seems like technology is changing not only every day, but almost by the hour. So where we're going to be 10, 20, 30 years from now is hard to say, but we're going to continue to have challenges in the environment and in agriculture. Everything from clean water and clean air. We've got climate change issues. We have a doubling in the growth of the population, which will place intense pressures on agriculture, not only to produce, but to deal with resource issues because of that growth. And I think we're going to need the benefits of technological innovation to deal with those. So I think it's going to be incredibly important that we have those technological innovations. I think it's going to be incredibly important the work that our land-grant universities do in doing the research and development. We can take that and apply it to some of these issues that we have. But there's no question, if the past is prologue to the future, technology is going to change, and it really seems to be picking up in pace.
We're visiting with Ron Carleton with EPA. This is Kyle Bauer reporting. Back to you, Jamie.
Thanks, Kyle. Folks, come back after these messages for this week's Kansas Soybean Update.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways. Of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at KFRM.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
ValleyVet.com, ValleyVet.com, Valley Vet Supply.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
This segment is brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Soybean Update.
This is the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Dr. Harold Trick, professor in plant pathology at Kansas State, joins us. And Dr. Trick, as the principal investigator on the Commission's longest-running research project, it's the enhancement of soybeans through genetic engineering. And how has that project been going so far?
Well, it's been going really good. And this whole project, I think we've been going through about 18 years now. We've been shifting around between a couple of different projects, but since the 2000s, we've been really focusing on soybean cyst nematode.
And with the growth or the increase of the soybean cyst nematode, it becomes even more vital.
These things are a microscopic worm. They're found in just about every soybean field. They're considered an obligate parasite, which means pretty much they feed only on soybean. Being so small, you think, what's the big deal? But they can really impact the soybean yield tremendously.
This also is looking at fungal-resistant proteins as well?
We have a project as well looking at different types of proteins that we can actually provide resistance to fungi as well.
How are some of the examples that you use?
For the soybean cyst nematodes, we have different methods of trying to provide protection. Currently, the soybeans themselves have their own resistance genes. These genes, however, they start to break down over time. It's sort of like insects becoming resistant to pesticides or bacteria becoming resistant to antibiotics. One of the things that we tried to do was to look at specific ways of getting rid of the soybean cyst nematode.
Science changes, or in this case, some things change with the breakdown of the genes, which makes it one that you continually pursue.
It definitely is. So with the soybean cyst nematodes, what we try to do is something called gene silencing, where we try to use the genes of the nematodes to actually work against themselves. So in this situation, what we do is we design small molecules in the plant. Then when the nematode goes and feeds on the plants, they ingest these, and they can turn off specific genes within the nematode itself, hopefully either killing it or disrupting its life cycle.
And really the eventual goal in all this is to get these traits into soybean breeding programs at Kansas State?
So once we develop these in my program, then they shift over to our soybean breeder, Bill Shapaw, where we start to try to introduce these into our Kansas adapted line, and then we will then go through and check those and see how well they perform against the soybean cyst nematode, comparing those against the traditional levels of resistance, which are breaking down.
That's Dr. Harold Trick, professor in plant pathology at Kansas State University. He joins us on the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Learn more at kansassoybeans.org. For Kansas Soybeans, I'm Greg Akagi.
Hope you enjoyed this week's Kansas Soybean Update. Stay with us after the break for more Farm Factor with Kyle and Cinch Munson.
I will take action against herbicide-resistant weeds. I will know my weeds, and I will stop them before they go to seed. I will do whatever it takes to give my crops the upper hand, and I will use multiple herbicide sites of action because every action counts. I will take action, this time for all time.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
No matter where, no matter why, the Veterinary Health Center at Kansas State University is committed to providing quality patient care to animals and exceptional customer service to their owners. From routine checkups to emergency and specialty care, our world-renowned specialists and experienced professionals are here to discover, to teach, and to heal.
Let us know.
How can I help? How can we help?
Tarwater Farm and Home has been family-owned and operated since its beginning in 1978. What you need for farm and agriculture, lawn and garden, clothing and footwear, and so much more. You'll be surprised at what you'll find in this huge store. They have what you need and lots of it. So come take a look. You'll discover that customer service is first and foremost. Always has been with the Tarwaters. Tarwater Farm and Home, 4107 North Topeka Boulevard. This segment brought to you by Sure Crop. Liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
We're back. Now Kyle and Cinch Munson will talk about the Propane Farm Incentive Program.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer visiting with Cinch Munson. He is with the Propane Education and Research Council, but you mainly work with the agricultural issues or the agricultural market on propane.
Yeah, I'm kind of in charge of the agricultural portfolio, if you will. So any equipment that uses propane in agriculture, I keep an eye on that. I'm kind of the go-between, if you will, between the ag industry and the propane industry.
And certainly propane has been in agriculture for a very, very long time. I mean, it originally started as almost a free fuel, but it's has its own demand, and that demand continues to grow.
Yeah, we in the ag market, there's a lot of new technologies and a lot of efficiency upgrades happening that just makes propane, continues to make propane a very good choice in ag operations. Yeah, there's a lot of history there with it being used for building heat, whether it's swine, poultry, greenhouses. So there's that history, grain drying and crop drying in general. But we're seeing a lot of growth in a lot of new markets as well. One that's a really important market for us right now is growth in the engine market. Irrigation engines, we continue to see growth year over year in that, almost a resurgence because of how good today's propane engines are. Built to run on propane, they're very efficient and very reliable.
Well, and when you have a stationary engine, whether that's on an irrigation engine or a generator, a propane engine is less expensive than a diesel engine.
Yeah, we have a program called the Propane Farm Incentive Program where we provide incentives to ag operations that buy propane-powered equipment in exchange for some information back on that equipment. We've ran this program now, we're in the 6th year, and consistently year after year, people say, yeah, these propane engines work great, they're very reliable, and they cost me less up front, typically 30 to 50% less than a comparable diesel engine, and they typically run about 30 to 50% less on the cost to operate and maintain the engines. So they're good, reliable equipment that helps people make more money at the end of the day.
I know we use propane on our generators at the radio station, and because the fuel, I can always count on it not going stale.
Yeah, one of the really nice things about propane is it's readily available and it's very reliable. You have a good propane marketer that keeps your tank full. You're not reliant on the grid. It will not go bad. It's not a theft concern. It just, as a fuel, it delivers the power and the availability you need to make sure that you get your job done.
Truly, there's been a resurgence in the demand for crop drying.
Yeah, one of the things we see with crop drying, a lot of efficiency upgrades. Today's grain dryers, the throughput on them, the capacity is just continues to grow to keep up with growing yields and farm sizes, and the efficiency just gets better and better. What we found through our incentive program is that by making the switch from an old grain dryer to a new grain dryer, you can typically gain about 50% efficiency gains. And so we've got a lot of farms that are saying, hey, I've never dried grain on the farm. I take it to the elevator, but I might want to consider that. I can harvest when I want, harvest early, get it out of the field before weather hits, don't kind of lose some of those field losses, and not have to pay someone else to do it, and be able to do it on your own terms, kind of an independent farm approach.
We're visiting with Cinch Munson with the Propane Council. This is Kyle Bauer reporting. Back to you, Jamie.
Thanks, Kyle. Come back after the break for a look at Billy Hall's Feedlot business.
This is Eric Stonestreet, and as many of you know, I love my home state of Kansas. In March, Kansas ranchers lost homes, equipment, and thousands of cattle from the largest wildfires in the state's history. Imagine losing all you have in a fire. Not just your house, but your livelihood. Ranchers are beginning to rebuild, but it will take years and tens of millions of dollars to build back herds, fences, and other infrastructure. Today, I'm asking you to help. Donate what you can and show your support to the ranchers of Kansas. Simply go to kansasfires.com. Your donation is tax deductible and will go to those who need it the most.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, Sure Crop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. Sure Crop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose Sure Crop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information. This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to Farm Factor as Kyle and Billy Hall visit about his recently added Grow Safe system that adds feed efficiency to the profitability analysis.
Billy Hall has been in the cattle business his whole life. Seeing the industry from the vantage point of a commercial cow-calf producer, a registered breeder, and now a cattle feeder gives him a unique perspective on which cattle are the most valuable to everyone.
One of the primary goals of working with retained ownership customers and then feeding cattle myself and then company cattle is trying to identify the genetics that actually deliver the value in a very hard, volatile market. So trying to find those cattle that you buy them for a premium and then they give a premium back to you when you market them on the grid.
The same traits are significant no matter who owns the cattle throughout feeding.
It's really feed conversion, performance, really health is number one. So trying to find cattle that, can gain and grade and stay healthy and yield and just do everything they have to. Because in today's environment and what cattle cost and the volatility, you just can't leave any loops not closed.
Chappell Feedlot recently added a Grow Safe system. That lets them add feed efficiency to their profitability analysis, and it helps find differences in genetics.
It's been very humbling when you look at the genetics and stuff like that and looking at the variation and seeing how cattle can become more profitable through feed conversion and cost of gains, because at the end of the day, all cattle aren't created equal.
Even when producers sell calves at weaning, feeders still track how those cattle do. Hall says it's as important for cattlemen to focus on performance and end product traits as anyone.
I think it's still reputation adds value. So even though there's lots of cattle that move across the United States and go into feed yard settings and stuff like that, when you get into the smaller people or the smaller feeders or people that are buying a couple loads of cattle, it's still relative to added value, whether that's genetics, health, flesh of the cattle, disposition, just all the factors that go into actually protecting your investment once you buy them and you take on the risk.
Cattle that reduce the risk have repeat buyers. I'm Bob Cervera.
Stay with us. We'll be back after the break with Plain Talk.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
As fourth-generation farmers themselves, Heinen Brothers Ag Service understands the risk and rewards of farming. So when it comes to quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia, call Heinen Brothers Ag today, 800-760-4964.
I'm Rexanne Struve, veterinarian in Western Iowa. I have a veterinary clinic and started doing stem cell therapy on dogs in August of 2014. And after the first 2 dogs, after 3 weeks, I saw such dramatic results. I said, hey, I have arthritis. I have joints, really need this help. Where can I go to get this done? I had stem cell therapy done in November of 2014 on my finger joints, my hip, and the ball of my left foot, all of which I'd had real severe problems with. Saw a pretty dramatic improvement in a short amount of time. I would certainly recommend that somebody don't wait until I'm in the position that I was in with the damage already done to my joints. I encourage veterinarians to use it for their animals, and I encourage anybody who sees this video, if you have need, get in contact with these people because this is a phenomenal place to have this done.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Welcome back. Now let's see what Kyle and Duane are up to today on Plain Talk.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer with Plain Talk with the smirking Duane Toews.
Your fact or fiction question today,
boy,
Kyle
I can't
Bauer.
wait with you smirking and all before we start.
Yeah, an Ohio state law requires all coal mining company owners and operators to provide a free and adequate supply of bath soap to all employees, including office staff. Fact or fiction?
I'll go with fact.
It's fiction. Under Ohio state law, all companies mining coal within the state of Ohio must provide an adequate supply of toilet paper.
Really?
For their employees.
Only while they're at work.
Above and below ground, both. So...
But, you know, there was a time that indentured servants in the northeast part of the United States, it was a law that they didn't have to have lobster more than 3 times a week.
Oh, really?
Lobster was not a rich man's food. It was a poor man's food.
There were a plethora of them at the time.
And it's like, okay, you
can't
feed your indentured servants more than 3 meals a week on lobster. Isn't that amazing?
Really? Boy, how times have changed.
I'll be honest with you, lobster's a little bit wasted on me. I mean, I just assume spend the money on twice as much shrimp.
Yeah, I enjoy them. I don't know that they're worth the price.
It is if somebody else is buying.
But it's kind of like a shrimp.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. That's why I use the correlation.
You get a lot of bites out of a big lobster
right,
tail,
though, in all candor, to be honest, I would prefer my lobster in like a bisque. In other words, a lobster soup or a lobster chowder or something like that than to just eat lobster.
Go ahead and add a few extra calories to that.
Well,
Thank you very much.
Yeah, but just think you only have that much lobster in there. Yeah. So one tail I could have like 7 gallons.
You could have 7 gallons of
lobster bisque out of it. Yeah.
So how do you stand on the difference between crawdads and shrimp?
Oh,
to me, they're fairly similar.
You know, they are somewhat similar, but if they were both, a guy said you can have as many shrimp as you want or as many crawdads that you want, I would take the shrimp in a heartbeat.
Okay.
I don't know. The crawdads, maybe I've always had to work too hard to get them.
I think part of it is I think we're doing it wrong.
Maybe. You mean cooking them or catching them?
Well, both probably.
Okay. Well, I know the time you and I tried to catch them with the seine.
It wasn't terribly
That was
prosperous.
Insane. Yeah. We need to get a trap.
But I think I watched a YouTube video.
Oh,
You cannot believe what you can find on YouTube today.
Anything.
I think they were going at it a little different than I normally try to acquire the meat tail of a crawdad. Well, it seemed like they could do it a whole lot faster. Of course, the guy lived in South Louisiana and grew up on them, and
Pretty much I'm with you. Crawdads and crab legs are diet food. You work harder to get them out than you get calories out of them.
Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. See you next week on Farm Factor. We're here every Tuesday on Ag AM in Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.